It's on, Brian.
We're right to go.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the North Sydney Local Planning Panel on the 25th of June 2025. First of all, I've got a few housekeeping matters to conduct. My name's Mike Ryan. I'll be acting chair for today's meeting. The nominated as advertised chair was Mr. Rob Stokes. Unfortunately, Rob's taken ill, but all expert members as advertised are present here today. First of all, I'd like to open the meeting with an acknowledgement of country. On behalf of all present and those watching via Teams, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of these lands in which we meet and to pay our respects to the ancestors and spirits past and present. I'll kick off by getting each of the expert members to introduce them, their name and a brief background, so that those listening in today have an appreciation of what qualifications and experience that this panel has for today. First of all, I'd ask Meredith.
Thank you. My name's Meredith Trevelyan-Jones. My qualifications are in architecture and urban estate management, and I've had over 30 years' experience in the property industry. I'm here today as a community representative, and I have no conflicts of interest in relation to any of the matters.
Vanessa.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Holtham. I'm a registered architect. I have a background in planning and heritage. I'm also on the New South Wales Heritage Council. I'm here as an expert member and I don't have any conflicts of interest that I'm aware of.
Thank you. And just briefly, my background, I'm a qualified town planner of some 40 years, dare I wish to admit that, 30 years of which has been in local government prior to running my own consultancy. So I'll just go through and explain some of the rules and regulations and processes that we'll adhere to today. This meeting is being recorded. All panel members have been made aware of the individual sites and the inspections. We've all read the council reports. We've also, prior to this meeting conducted today, had a very detailed briefing from each of the authors of the three reports. The panel will then hear from the registered speakers. Submitters will address the panel first, followed by the applicant. And any applicants that are here today, if you are involved in an application where there's been some submissions or objections made, you may wish to address the specific points that the submitters made. Please note there's a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. Submitters are requested to only address any new information that hasn't previously been raised in either the panel or to the panel or in the assessment report. Now, once the meeting has closed, we will go into private session through which we will then go through the minutes, the recommendations, I apologise, the recommendations of the report, and then we will hopefully, the minutes by regulation should be up on Council's website by the close of business on Friday. So I will start the meeting with item 1, which is 313 Pacific Highway, North Sydney. Now, there are no submitters to this application, but I've got Ben Crichton from Think Planners as the applicant's representative. Ben, are you there?
Yes. Hello, panel chair and panel. I am here. I'm just here to observe and, if there's any questions, happy to answer.
Okay, thank you, Ben. I'll ask the panel members, are there any questions of Ben for this application?
Not from me.
And I have none.
Well, it's an easy one for you, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 2, which is 65 Pacific Highway, Victoria Street in McMahon's Point. Now, we do have registered submitters for this application, and we also have the owner and a consultant planner to address the panel. So first of all, the first name I have here is Michael Fremder, as a resident. Michael, are you there? Michael?
Got him on. Oh, yes, he's on mute.
Michael, I think you're on mute.
We can't hear you. Sorry, you're still on mute.
Is Claire? Claire's
Yes,
on mute as well.
I'm on today and I'd like to address the panel if I'm permitted to.
Okay, before you do, Claire, Michael's down to address as well. Is that correct?
No, Michael's just attending.
He's just attending. Okay, so you'll be the only one speaking. Okay, thank you. Please go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I have Michael from Tudor Planning and Design who will be speaking.
Yes, I have him. Yes, I have him listed.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he can follow up with after you. Okay.
Okay.
Your 3
perfect.
minutes start now. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair, members of the panel, Mr. Michael Georgiou from Tudor Planning and Design, neighbours, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to address the panel today and strongly object to 6 key points that were included in the report of Ms. Rachel Wu, the Assessment Officer of the North Sydney Council, and related to the view loss impact assessment prepared by Urbis on behalf of the applicant of 63 and 65 Victoria Street properties. Excuse me. Firstly, with respect to the council process, so had the community, ourselves included, been aware that council can make a determination by delegation in the event that less than 10 submissions are received, I strongly believe that we would not be here today having to deliberate on a very similar DA, now strongly based on precedent, as I firmly believe that DA 624 463 Victoria Street, the semi-attached dwelling, would have been refused by the esteemed members of the panel. With no disrespect to the council officer Mr. Damon Kenny, who approved DA 624, at no time did he consider the panel's reasons for refusal of the earlier application. Did he make any effort to attend site, discuss any of the submissions, nor include any controls to satisfy the objections? And the approval of 624 has without question created a precedent with respect to the current DA 2725 that we're deliberating on today. If I may take a second just to read the summary of the panel's reasons for refusal of the original DA 35722, which is still very relevant to the current DA. Apologies, I can't find my piece of paper. Okay, so sorry, I'm partial. So the panel is persuaded, based on the plans and information submitted, that the proposal on its merit does not warrant approval. The panel is of the opinion that a form which retains the existing parapet, removes the first floor balcony on the street frontage, and sets back a first floor addition behind the existing parapet would be more consistent with the DCP provisions, in particular Part B 148 and Part C 923. The very same conditions apply to the current DA. The second point I'd like to address is the approval of DA 624 has caused a precedent. Despite Ms. Wu's assurance that the current DA was assessed on its own merits, there are 54 references to number 63 Victoria Street in her report, and the street appeal now of both properties far outweighs her assessment to the loss of iconic views of the Sydney Opera House, the Sydney Harbour Bridge, the bridge pylon, the bridge deck, and Luna Park to ourselves, the neighbours of 62 Victoria Street, and the loss of city views to our neighbours of 66 and 68 Victoria Street. The reference made in Ms. Wu's report and in the impact assessment by Urbis to our roof terrace being a living outdoor area, I also must object to. Regrettably, although this area does enjoy very spectacular views, we cannot use this area on a number of occasions because it's very exposed to the elements. We don't have any protection from sun, rain, or wind, and we cannot put up any temporary structures such as umbrellas because of the risk of them flying, and neither can we construct anything to correct this issue because of abiding by LEP constraints and also being concerned for interfering with our neighbours' views. The next point I'd like to address is assess the extent of the impact. So Tenacity says that the impact on views from living areas is far more significant than from bedrooms or service areas. The original plans for the terraces of 62 to 68 Victoria Street had the area that we currently use as the main bedroom as the main living sitting room of the house. We have, since we've moved in, altered this to now enjoy that area as the main bedroom and sitting room. However, just off of that main bedroom, we have a lovely little balcony, and from that area we have full protection from the elements and currently enjoy full harbour views, Sydney Opera Bridge views, Sydney iconic views such as Luna Park, etc. The next point I'd just like to talk about is the view loss impact assessment prepared by Urbis on behalf of the applicant. Any statement assessing the impact of DA 2725 to the iconic views we enjoy from the balcony off of the main living room floor as minor needs to be challenged. If you refer to figure 36 in the appendix of the Urbis View Loss Impact Assessment, which are also included in my submission to the panel, you'll notice that Urbis themselves has drawn in the location of the Sydney Opera House. It's shown in yellow in the montage, and you'll be able to see that it includes the whole view of the Sydney Opera House, showing all the sails, the water, the land interface. This view is currently obscured to us by a palm tree on a private property of Fortinet Australia at 162.
Can I just Claire, the 3 minutes was up some time ago. Yeah,
okay.
Sorry. We've read your detailed submissions.
Okay.
Could you, in the little time that we have, because we like to adhere to the 3 minutes, but that's fine in this situation, could you just very briefly address specific issues that you have not raised in your written submissions? Because we've read all your submissions and the consultant, the planner has also addressed each of those. Are there any other issues that you'd like to bring to the attention of the panel today that aren't in those submissions?
So thank you for that. I apologise I've gone over time. It always goes so very quickly.
It goes quickly.
So basically, I'll just sum up by saying that the assess the reasonableness of the proposal. So DA 2725, it cannot be considered reasonable if it's reviewed in isolation of DA 624. The DA exceeds LEP height constraints. No consideration has been given to Tenacity's view sharing objectives, and all of the planning panel's reasons for refusal of the initial DA still apply. So I'm therefore asking the panel to consider the new DA on its own merits and not exacerbate the problem that we have of council approving the adjoining semis DA, and to look at this one on its own merits. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Michael Georgalis, urban planner representing 62, 64 and 68 Victoria Street and 48 Mitchell Street. Michael, are you there?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I am. Thank you.
So the same would apply. You have the 3 minutes.
Yes.
If you could take on board what Claire has said, possibly don't repeat what Claire has said, but being a planner, I'm sure you'll deal with more technical issues. Please go ahead.
Sorry, Chair, and thank you, panel. I'll just emphasise what Ms. Fremder has highlighted. My submissions have gone to all the technical points, but in essence, firstly, in terms of the point of the approved development next door and the precedent, it's evident that that's been used as the principles for the design of the development at 65 Victoria Street. What that has actually resulted in is that approval has broken the architectural design and built form character of the existing building group and broke the rhythm of the roof form and built form transition along the street from the heritage terraces to the west starting at Victoria Street. Now, to Ms. Fremder's point is that the the current assessment report relies on 63 as design principles, and therefore in its own right 65 should be looked at with more scrutiny. To the point about view loss is that whilst there is views available from the roof terrace and enjoyed from the roof terrace, there is a sitting room that doubles up on that first floor, which does have views of the harbour, the Opera House and the Harbour Bridge, and therefore higher weight should be provided to that space as a habitable room, which hasn't been given the sufficient weight in terms of that impact. One of the things that we thought that the council would entertain and the applicant would entertain is to change the roof form to actually, in its own merit, own right, change the design in order to allow that view sharing to occur. The applicant and the council have made no effort to actually amend that at all. And in terms of totality of impacts, it is evident in my mind that the proposal generates adverse community impacts related to view loss, privacy, residential amenity to surrounding properties, but in particular, which doesn't seem to have been given sufficient weight, and I do realise the planner has made assessment on these matters, in particular to 48 Mitchell Street and 176 Blues Point Road, with some amendments proposed, but there is a clear lack of building separation between the buildings, and now that you have a balcony from 63 imposing onto 48 Mitchell Street, which is barely 4 metres apart. Now with another building at 65 having a further encroachment to 48 Mitchell Street and now overlooking private habitable areas into 176 Blues Point Road. So I think that there is some serious concerns here in terms of the assessment of the development, its own merit, as it's used the precedent of 63, and therefore I ask the panel to make its own opinion formed on the recommendation and the issues brought forward to the panel.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Tony Markley. Tony, are you there?
Yes.
Sorry, yes, I am.
Oh.
Tony, welcome.
Yes, yeah, thank you.
The same rules apply. 3 minutes. Could you please go ahead?
Loughran's going to speak on our behalf, if that's okay, Chair.
Sorry.
Yes, so Chair, sorry, Tony is the owner of the site. So I'm Lachlan Rogers from Bar Planning, making representation on behalf of the applicant. No, that's okay. So Tony's just here to observe the meeting.
Okay, no, we had Tony listed separately. So you're representing. Okay, please.
Yeah, I would just like to start by obviously thanking the panel for the availability to address the panel and the concerns of the community. I'd like to start just by confirming that we're happy with council's assessment and would agree with their recommendation to the panel. There is just one condition that we would propose be amended, which I believe you would have received in writing yesterday.
We did.
So if you would prefer me to work through that condition first, or alternatively, I can talk to, I guess, the issues raised by objectors. What would be your preference?
No, I think if you go ahead with the issues first, see how time goes, and then if we have some spare time, we've been briefed by the planner earlier today on the condition. We've worked our way through that, so I think we're pretty well across that. So please go ahead.
Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, so to the objection issues, as I said, we support council's assessment of the relevant issues raised in the submissions, as well as the relevant environmental impacts they need to consider under section 4.15 of the EP&A Act. Talking specifically to the view loss issues raised, there was a view loss impact assessment submitted with the application, which addressed the planning principles of tenacity, with, I guess, the view loss impacts coming back as negligible, minor, or at the worst, moderate, which, considering the development as a whole, was considered to be a reasonable outcome for the development, noting where the existing views are enjoyed from surrounding properties. That assessment was submitted with the DA. Council undertook their assessment and have agreed with the position and the findings of that assessment. Now, obviously, raised in the submissions and here today has been concern around the adjoining property and the DA considered for that, and what people are referring to as there being a heavy reliance on that. That view loss impact assessment is for this current DA. and considers the impacts from what is proposed under this DA and was considered to be reasonable and supported by council. As far as the existing precedent set by that adjoining DA, once again, we're not reliant on that DA for this. This DA has been submitted on its own merits and assessed accordingly. Whilst we do still have consideration for the context as it exists now, as well as what has been approved in the surrounding area. Now, that application was assessed and approved by council. So there's been lawful approval issued for that, and our property for the subject DA forming part of that row, the design put in front of the panel today and assessed by council and recommended for approval builds on that character and is consistent with it and consistent with the emerging character of the area, as well as respecting the characters that exist now. Noting that obviously as part of council's assessment, the DA was referred to all the internal teams, including council's conservation planner, who raised no concern with the DA. Once again, the DA as it stands now for the property today, not necessarily the DA that has already been approved by council. So from our position, all relevant matters have been addressed in the documentation submitted with the application, as well as council's assessment.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from panel members of either Claire or Lachlan?
I did have a question for Lachlan. So you did have a concern about the that you raised in a submission in relation to the sliding doors and the condition on that. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. So we were proposing alternative wording for that condition. Just talking to that condition, it relates to the glazed openings on the southern and eastern elevation. There are two other conditions that precede that, being condition C21 and C22, that already address the visual privacy concerns raised in council's assessment. They introduce a obscure glazing for the balustrade, as well as a minimum requirement for the landscaping in the planter boxes. So we think the privacy impact is already addressed through those conditions. Further to that, we would propose the condition be amended to just detail that obscure glazing to 1.5 metres above the floor level would also sufficiently address those privacy issues. With the condition as it stands now, we would be of the position that it would be overly onerous, considering condition C21 and C22 already imposed, and would, I guess, adversely impact on the solar access that would be enjoyed by occupants within our development. Now, with, I guess, our proposed amendment to that, this is obviously what we would prefer as part of the determination, but if the panel is of a mind to approve it in line with the current recommendation, we would raise no objection to that.
Thank you.
Any questions, Vanessa? Do you have any?
No, I don't have any.
No, I don't have any questions either. So thank you both very much. A very comprehensive submission and response from you, Lachlan. Thank you.
Thank you, panel.
We'll now move on to item 3, which is 246 Miller Street in North Sydney. I don't have any submitters listed to speak, but I have two names as the applicant/representatives. Nick Marick, from project manager from Franklin Shanks, and Richie Key, who's the tenant and occupier. Do you both wish to speak, or is one of you going to speak on behalf of the other?
I can speak if that's okay. Firstly, thank you, Chair and panel. That's me, Nick. Yeah. Hi.
Okay.
I must admit this is my first address to a panel in this regard. So excuse me for any sort of anything that's not standard in these situations. But well, just regarding 246 Miller Street, I can see here that there's a recommendation to grant consent for the development application. So I guess Richie will be the tenant once all this is obviously resolved. And I guess both of us are here, myself as the submitter of the DA on behalf of Richie, and Richie as the tenant. I guess we're both here to answer any questions, and we obviously thank you for the opportunity So from what I can see, there are some conditions here with regards to no structural works permitted, which there are none planned. The approved use, certification from the access consultant, which we do have, plan of management, which was submitted as well, signage and operation of the premises. So from my understanding, there's been a recommendation for approval of the development application. And as I said, Richie and I are both here to answer any questions that the panel may have.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any questions myself. Meredith, do you have any questions?
I thought perhaps if I could just ask, there's a condition in relation to access. The building is a local heritage item. And I just wanted to ask you to confirm that you're not thinking in terms of any alterations to the building fabric.
There will be no alterations to the building fabric at all. Yep, correct.
Thank you.
Vanessa, do you have any questions?
That covered my question. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Nick. That's
Thank you, panel. Yep.
That's that item. We'll now go into closed session. Thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance. And as I said at the beginning of the meeting, the minutes will be up on Council's website by close of business on Friday. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.